Sorry, what's going on? Why's everything so muffled?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have a look. Oh. You know this is the open, right?
Yeah.
I think then we might need to replace the tin opener. Because if you look, like, it's scored around some of the edges.
Oh, we haven't quite
it hasn't quite opened all the way around all the way around. Oh, okay. I guess we could try again. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast for two queer trans women, that's us, we're marriedy types, have a bit of a catch-up about the media we've consumed in the week, and do some silly voices and skits and try and make each other have a bit of a giggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's just us having a bit of a silly time.
Bit of a laugh, innit?
How are you doing?
I'm a sleepy little bean, how are you doing?
I'm also a sleepy little bean. It's sleepy bean o'clock here.
It is sleepy bean o'clock.
It's sleepy bean o'clock in this household.
And yet we've got a podcast to do.
Well, we do indeed. What have you played this week?
What have I played? I was going to say I've not played a lot, but I feel like I played a decent amount.
You played a few things this week.
Yeah, so we finished a board game we've been talking about a little bit.
We did, yes.
We finished Vagrant Song after 22 games, I think it was.
Yep. We've talked about this board game before. It is sort of like the same one map of 3 train cars every time you play, but it's a sort of grid-based, do various little quests and fight things.
Sort of vaguely tacticsy.
Yeah, sort of top-down tacticsy game. I feel like having finished it, our opinion has been, like, largely pretty consistent, although, like, maybe our opinion's gone up a little at the end. In that it is a game that mechanically I think we were both surprised at how much variation they found out of a limited tool set and map set.
Especially towards the end. We got some really interesting stuff with just weird mechanics about moving things around in different ways.
The last couple of missions, there were some really interesting ideas that felt like they took into account the journey we'd been on and sort of made that relevant to how our journey ended.
Yes. Also, though, I would argue that in those last two, especially the penultimate one, I feel like it tried to do way too much.
I agree with you that, like, the execution maybe was a little much, but I appreciate the ambition of the idea.
Yeah. I like the way that it was tailored based on how we had played the game so far and stuff like that. It finally explained a thing that we had been sitting in the box going, don't look at these.
Yeah.
Like, there is a deck of cards in the game, and it's just like, you don't need to look at those, don't worry. And it's quite early on in the manual.
I like that this game's balance has a bit of a... There's sort of two things happening with the balance as you build toward the end, where one mechanic is making things more difficult for you because you're doing well, but...
You're also getting better gear and better stuff.
And, you know, there's also something that's going to be a little easier later because of that, and, like, I think that's a neat balance.
Yes.
The critiques of, like, the theming and setting and stuff... remain. What was the YouTube channel that did that video?
No pun included. Did a wonderful video about the Vagrant Song, the history of hoboing and so forth.
Yep. Well worth a watch. It's as we've said before, it's not a game we would have bought.
No.
And it's not a game that I would go around suggesting to people to go and buy.
No, but if somebody else owns it, or if somebody else comes into possession of it, perhaps it'll come into possession of our copy one day.
It is a perfectly resettable legacy game. Like, there is... The back page of one of the books is for marking things off, but you can just go on the website and print off other ones so that, like, you can hand fresh
I'm
sheets around
probably
with
going to
it.
print, like, 10 copies off
Just
before we
shove them
send
in the
it off
box.
Yeah,
that seems wise. But yeah, it's... Having had it bought for us...
Yes.
I had a really good time with it,
Absolutely.
despite its problems, and I am excited to pass it on to other people so other people will get a chance to play it without more copies being purchased, which is always a weird situation to be in when being like, I recommend, if someone hands this to you, I recommend playing it, but I don't recommend purchasing it.
Yes. I wish the company that made it luck, and I hope that they will maybe consider a bit more in future the historical implications of the very real world things that they are trying to make a story about, or using as a framework rather than even making a story about. That's just their framework, really.
Cultural consultancy is a really important step in talking about things that are not your lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, had a good time with that game, even if it's like its balance is a little wonky in places. It has some rough spots, but it's an interesting game mechanically for sure.
I imagine it is very different at 4-player.
Agreed.
We played through the entire thing with 2. It does talk about the fact that you can add and remove people as much as you want, pretty much.
There were certain things that were definitely more challenging for us by virtue of there only being 2 of us.
Yes. I mean, there were things that sort of went, you only need 1 per player of X item, or you need to do this once per player. All the haint health when on levels. On levels where there are like a particular haint that you've got to bash the humanity back into.
Yeah.
Like, those scale according to player count.
I recognise there is some scaling, but I also feel like having additional people in additional spaces on the board more spread out.
Oh, yes.
I think would more than balance for that.
Yeah. But then you've got other things where I mean, obviously I wasn't always reading the whole thing out to you, but there have been occasions where it's been like, if there are X number of people in a train car, or if there are people within X range of someone else, like a lot of that could have pinged off really badly in higher density player counts, especially if you've also got the runaway who's got the pup, and the pup who would potentially act as another vagrant, further making things like that difficult. But yeah, fascinating, a bit emotional towards the end.
Yeah, it definitely had its moments.
People have said this is replayable, and I think you could replay it with different characters, making different decisions, and maybe see things slightly differently. I don't want to, because like a good game of Undertale, I'm happy with the ending I got.
So, I agree with you. I think I've been thinking about games that I would or would not want to play again a little bit since we finished this.
Yeah.
And the one that I was sort of thinking in comparison to, like, somewhat recently was, Emily? No, is missing.
Alice is missing.
Alice is missing. I wanted to say Emily was missing, and I was like, that's not right. Alice is missing. I could see myself more going back and replaying at some point in the future.
Yes.
Because of the amount of, like, yourself that you can put into replaying that. Whereas this, there is a large amount of, you would be doing the same things, and it wouldn't be unfun. But part of the experience of this is not knowing whether interacting with a certain event on the board is going to be good or bad for you, or not knowing what some of the puzzles are. And like particularly, I think about the that there was that puzzle toward the end where we were stuck in the middle train car and we were trying to move things around.
Yes.
That would be a lot simpler if right from the get-go we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And
I don't think there's any avoiding that one whatsoever.
Yeah. I think there are a fair few things in this where you would go, I am enjoying this, but I'm having a lesser experience the second time round because I know.
Yes.
And that's not a critique, but this isn't a game I would replay.
No. And, like, we got pretty much the best ending, like the second best possible ending. We did some things that we did one thing that just got us, like, a little chapter, or like a couple of paragraphs of, like, hey, you did this thing, we're just going to give you a little bit of text.
I don't even think it was a bad ending. It was, we made a choice, and we felt satisfied with the choice we've made, even if...
No, we got the second best ending. Like I say, it wasn't a bad ending at all. The only way we could have had a better ending is by playing the game absolutely perfectly. Yeah. And I don't think that would have necessarily
I mean, it was that or be a bit more selfish at the end, which was not how we wanted to play it.
No.
But yeah, good game if it happens to fall into your lap.
Yes, and maybe our copy will fall into your lap at some point. We are putting it out into the world now.
We're encouraging whoever we pass it on to pass it on and pass it on and pass it on.
Oh, yes. But that was what we... That was... What, our Christmas gift?
Yeah. I think we got it just in the new year, around the new year. So, yeah, that was a good 3 months or so of, like, whenever we didn't have anything else that we were, like, in the mood for, we were just like, we'll get a couple of games of that out on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. I think we got good value out of that.
Indeed.
Yeah, so tell us about a thing you played.
The main thing I've been playing this week is I've been replaying The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
I have too!
Yeah, I started a new playthrough on Master Mode.
Oh, my.
Which is the DLC hard mode for that game. I'm getting a lot further in Master Mode than I did last time, because I'm going to tell you, I made the mistake. I've been streaming this.
Yes.
And a bunch of people have been talking about their experiences with Master Mode, and everyone made the same problem as me, which was...
Don't kill too many things.
No. The problem is going, oh yeah, I'll do the trial of the sword, but on Master Mode, the thing that gets you the unlimited use Master Sword.
Right.
And trying to do that on Master Mode has killed, including myself, so many people's enthusiasm for Master Mode and gone, oh no, I can't do it, and it's too hard.
I mean, to be honest, I couldn't do that on Standard Mode.
Yeah, on Master... So the problem with Master Mode, not only are enemies, do they have, like, more health and they deal more damage, the big thing is they have a degree of health regen.
Yes.
And that means that strategies for trying to slowly whittle away health of an enemy do not work.
Yes, there's far less of this, just going to kite you around, throwing bombs at you and hoping for the best.
Exactly. Now, bosses do have some degree of, like, thresholds. I think it's, like, at, like, 75%, 50, and 25%, or it might be at, like, form changes.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you get them below that amount, and, like, a little past that, they won't regen back up past that threshold, which is appreciated.
Yes.
But it does change the way you have to play. But this time I was like, I'm not going to worry at all about the Trial of the Sword, because I know that that's just I'm going to get fixated on it, and it's going to give me a bad time.
Yeah.
So I did what I always, like, I like doing Breath of the Wild. I went and unlocked all the map towers, like, right at the start of the game. If I happened to walk past a shrine, I'd activate it, but just get all of the map uncovered and, like, my fast travel points. And then I went and did all of the Divine Beasts straight away, so that I could go to the DLC Ballad of the Champions stuff, so that I could get the motorcycle, because in my main playthrough of Breath of the Wild, I got that horse motorcycle right at the end of the game when I had no reason to use it. And I wanted to have a playthrough of this game where, as early as possible, I had the horse motorbike so I could actually use it. And I think I had less than 40 shrines completed when I got the horse motorcycle, so now I can do most of a playthrough with a horse motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally just unlocked it as well. I didn't think I'd actually got through Battle of the Champions previously, because I know I was having trouble with one particular puzzle. Partly because the guide I was looking at for it suggested a solution to it that I could not get to work.
Yeah.
And I have since found a different solution for it, and I got that in like 2 minutes. But then we got to that last trial, that last dungeon, and I was like, I swear I've done this before, and I have. I must have done it at some point in the end after bashing my head away on that frickin' dungeon for long enough. But I eventually got it, and I remember getting it and getting the cycle and going, oh, this is really cool, I'm going to go and do all of the side quests and I'm going to do it on the cycle. And I realised I was chewing through all my monster bits, and I need those for, like, all the, is it Kilton?
Oh, yeah.
I need all the stuff for, like, the whole side mission.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem worth it, necessarily.
So, you're probably right. And I will say that I have a level 4 Spurs horse with the armor that gives it some extra Spurs.
Yeah.
That I can also teleport it to me wherever I am rather than just in range of it. And in theory, that's probably a better use of things. But also, we have a stack of amiibo cards.
We do.
And my logic has been, I've defeated all of the hardest things in the game. I really don't need to worry about food for a while. I'm just going to use all of the thistles and fish and meat and assorted food that this is throwing at me. I'm just going to feed that into the motorcycle. And so far, that has been fine.
That's fair.
Um,
I've mostly just been cooking the meat and not doing any other cooking.
yeah.
Because, like, for 2 bits of meat, that can
Yeah.
do you, 6 hearts?
And I might not stick with it long term, but I want the option of the horse motorcycle. I
Yeah.
want to know I can use it. And at night it's cool because it's got the headlight on it, and I do appreciate being able to see where I'm going and sort of go up, sort of up and down inclines a bit more easily without the horse like neighing and being like, "Nah, I don't like that."
So I can't remember. Does the horse motorcycle is fully your control?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Because
Yeah.
the one thing I really do appreciate about the horses is you can just go, okay, you're on a road, you're going to follow the road for a while now.
So I appreciate that sometimes, but I also so good example. There was a nighttime moment, and I was trying to get to a star fragment that I could see had fallen from the sky.
Yeah.
I saw the little beam of light, and it was over a bunch of like quite turbulent terrain. And I was like, if I try and ride the horse towards that, it's going to keep complaining that it doesn't want to go up because it's slightly too steep.
Yeah.
This motorcycle, it's dark. I can just beeline it with my little headlight on and jump over the things and bounce. That worked really well. And I like having it as a tool and an option, even if it's not going to be my all the time. That said, I did enjoy the Champions Ballad stuff. I
Did
think
you enjoy that final challenge?
I really
Not
like
the boss fight.
that final boss fight. I found it really satisfying. It is tough as nails,
Yeah.
but it felt really good to be. That final dungeon, I thought it was a really neat one consistent space that had a big clear theming to it. I like that like the control you had on the map screen was just this way or that way. And how much they did
Clockwise,
with that.
anti-clockwise, which way are we turning this?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite dungeons in Breath of the Wild. I think it might be my favourite. I like it a lot.
It's got some really clever ideas. I think they did an amazing job.
And I think that the Ganon Blight rematches that are part of the Champions Ballad are pretty well balanced as a challenge, other than Water Blight, which gives you nothing to work with. Water Blight is...
Water Blight is the one that just throws
the ice stuff at you.
Actually, I found that one way easier than some of the others. My problem is always lightning.
Yeah.
That dash towards you thing, I can never get like a good parry or a dodge or anything off of that.
Yeah.
And it just frustrates me.
The problem with water in Master Mode is because you have to keep waiting for Water Blight to back away, and like you've got to wait for him to be sending his ice blocks to you again to get another a good opening to stun him. Because, like, in the rematch, you're only given 10 arrows, which is not enough to, like, just keep shooting him in the eye to stun him. So I was trying to do this strategy of, like, stasis the ice, knock it back at him to stun him.
Yeah.
But, like, waiting for him to do that and doing it and getting back to him was taking too long and he was regenning health too much.
Wow. Yeah.
And, like, that was a really frustrating one to do with limited resources. I like all of the shrines in the Champions Ballad. I think that they are definitely some of the toughest shrines in the game, puzzle-wise.
I like all of them but one. One
Yeah.
being that fucking... The one that I struggled with previously. So, I can't remember what it's called, but basically you've got a ball dropping in from the top, and you've got a wall of water, and there's like a couple of little notches that the ball can fall down.
That bullshit, the pachinko one.
Yes.
Yes. Because the solution... I had the idea for the solution and tried it, and it didn't work. And then it didn't work, and I was like, I must be doing something wrong, and tried to find a different solution. I was like, no, that is the solution. You just have to be so perfectionist with your positioning.
So, the one I originally tried to do that I was told worked was you block the first 3, and then you, like, as it gets to the third one, you switch one to the 4th position, and then it will roll up and over across the top and out.
Oh.
Which is not the solution.
No, that's...
Because it doesn't have enough momentum to keep
That's
going
not
that way.
what I did. I did the first 2, and then when it's bouncing down, I tried to position one so that it, like, knocked into it on the left and reflected, it, like, bounced back to the right into where it needed to go.
So I think it's block the first one or the first 2, then you put an ice under one of the pivots so that it doesn't go the wrong way, and then you just put a block sort of just hovering at the bottom.
Yeah, but the positioning of that last block is really fiddly.
Well, what the walkthrough that I think is the same walkthrough you were looking at suggested was that you put one in one place and then you quickly put a 4th one in that will replace the first one at the very last second to get it to bounce in the right direction. but somehow I managed to put that in a position where, without moving the top one, it just bounced straight in from that position. I was like, I spent months on this originally.
Well, there we go. Breath of the Wild, I'm really enjoying replaying it. It's been nice to get back into the rhythm of it.
It has, and I'm glad I've got Champion's Ballad out the way now, because I'm on 91 shrines. Like, I was on 91 shrines for a while, because I started my playthrough again, I think, just before UDP, and it's been nice to sort of go... I kind of forgot about it, we were very busy, but it's been nice to sort of get back to it a little bit and see if I can squeeze those last, 30-something out before May.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I did the Champion's Ballad first as well, because if nothing else, it means that, like, I have the quick recharge for being able to go up into the air if it's raining, and being able to use Urbosa's Fury, like, lots of times really quickly, which is good for, like, farming Guardians early on to, like, get some of the gear for that I'm gonna need. Urbosa's Fury is really good against Guardians.
I always forget to use that damn move.
It stuns them so effectively, and if you go in with, like, a big two-handed weapon and start spinning around, like, one Urbosa's Fury and a heavy spinning weapon, you can just start taking legs off those things. It's great.
I usually go with Rivali first, because I just like being able to move that fast across the map with it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Breath of the Wild. We're both replaying it, and we're both excited for Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Did you play anything else?
I've been dipping back into Planet Crafter.
Yeah.
They got me again. I was like, I think I got to the end of my last sort of massive playthrough, and was like, you know what, I'm just going to stop here and I'm going to wait for the full game to come out.
Yeah.
And that was the plan. And then they released a seasonal event for the first birthday of it being in early access. And I was like, I want that cake. I was like, cool, there's a cake, I want the cake, I will go and find the cake. I almost immediately found there's secrets hidden all over the map, generally, by these little tubes that go into the ground with little ladders poking out of them. And this one was surrounded by some blue and gold balloons. I was like, that's probably the anniversary celebration one. I know there's a bunch of new stuff, because there's a whole update that I hadn't even looked at yet.
Yeah.
So I dived down there and I found a cooker and a closet that had weed seeds and cocoa seeds.
Yeah.
And the cooker had options for making flour, chocolate, croissants, cookies, and a cake, a birthday cake. I was like, right, okay, well, I definitely want the cake at the very least. It requires honey. Well, how the fuck do I get honey? Apparently, bees were just added at some point, and I haven't played that bit either. So there's a whole thing with bees. I've been making little I've got to a point where, like, there are these little grubs running around the map. Some are common, uncommon, there's rare ones as well. You pick them up, you stick them in this gene manipulation thing with some mutagen and some fertilizer, and you've got a chance of maybe getting silkworms or certain types of butterflies. And you can just make a bunch of butterflies, put them in these things, and they will increase the number of plants in your world. And it's like, that makes sense. So I've got things for making bees, and I've got a bunch of butterflies. I've got, like, whole new types of trees that I've managed to make. I've discovered the Mushroom River, which was added at some point. I've discovered some secret things I'm not going to talk about because spoilers. But wow, the lore in this game has got pretty freaking wild. Yeah. There's been a lot of new stuff added, including a whole logistics system with these little drones that will sort of poodle around the map and transfer stuff for you, which is really freaking cool. There's a whole system of auto-crafting now, where you can put these things down and they will just keep creating the same thing over and over again. And they don't need to be fed materials, they just need to be proximate to cupboards where those materials are. So, given that I already had this really neat, sorted system, all I've had to do is build a few drones with a drone control unit, and just go, this thing only accepts the thing that it has always only accepted. Except now there is a robot that goes across the map and puts things in there for me. And it has made I imagine that had I found it earlier, it would have made like a whole lot of things much, much quicker. There is a lot of new stuff in Since the Last Thing. There's like several new biomes. There's new crashed vessels that you can investigate. There's, as I say, like the whole system of insects. Apparently amphibians are going in. Fish. I've got fish. Which, considering that this was like a planet that was constantly sandblasted and no breathable atmosphere and no liquid water, it feels quite cool to just be like, I'm surrounded by trees and I've got fish on the go. That's very cool.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you played?
I played a couple of very quick things I will sort of rattle through. I've been trying a few more little indie things on the Playdate. I played a game called Unnamed Roguelike. You select from a small selection of character classes. I currently can't work out much difference between them, but it's kind of interesting in that this is a top-down game where the enemy only moves when you move on a grid-based system.
Okay, so sort of super hotty.
Yeah, a little bit super hotty, but on a grid-based system. And levels are just the size of one screen, and when you clear out all the enemies, you move to the next floor. You're trying to go as many floors as you can. The basic gimmick seems to be, if you are stood like on the tile next to an enemy, and like there is no gap between you, and you go in the direction that enemy is, you will attack them and not take any damage. You will sort of win that little trade. But if you are, say, separated by a one block gap and you try and move towards them, they will deal you damage.
Okay, so it's the same as turn-based RPGs?
Yeah, it's that kind of vibe.
You want to do these stay still in one spot so that they come to you and then you hit them.
Yeah, but obviously they won't move unless you move, so you are trying to sort of like position yourself in such a way that you will end up on that. And like, you know, when we're just talking about one enemy, that's fairly easy to picture. It's like, I'll like sort of move in such a way that I get it so that we're in the right position, so I'm attacking you. Worst case, you take that one damage to step into their space. You are now stood next to them. You can do the rest of the damage. It gets more complicated in stages with more enemies, and you are trying to get in a position where not only you are in the position to attack safely on your target, but that you aren't, you know, taking damage in the process from an enemy on a different side.
Yeah, and I assume, like, things in your way and, like, the shape of the level and how narrow the room are going to make huge differences there?
Largely on the levels I've seen so far. I've maybe made it, like, maybe 10 floors down on one of the better runs. Most of the obstacles are things like trees, which are generally obstacles, but you can cut them down.
Right.
They'll generally take 2 hits to break down, so you can go in a direction that isn't intended, and you can sort of work your way around that way, but doing so is going to give other enemies moves to sort of work towards you. Very simple game, but like fun to play. As I said, I tried playing 2 classes, the fighter and the wizard, and I expected the wizard to maybe like attack at a different range or something, or like have ranged spells. Didn't seem to act any differently from what I can tell. It seemed to just be a palette swap. I might be wrong, maybe I haven't played enough, but if there is a differentiation, the game has not made it clear what is special about the, like, different character classes. The other 2 I'm going to very quickly rattle through, which I believe are from the same developer on itch.io, are 1-Bit Arena and 1-Bit Jetpack. These are both very simple little arcadey high score chasing games. They both play very well. 1-Bit Arena is a top-down, you're in a sort of Colosseum-esque environment. Enemies are coming at you from all directions. You use the D-pad to sort of aim towards enemies and press the A button to fire, to throw daggers in the direction you're looking to try and kill enemies. Some might fire projectiles at you or need multiple hits to defeat, or need to be attacked from a certain direction, stuff like that. Try and take down all the enemies until you've got enough points to go to the next level where things get tougher. It's a simple game. It feels good to play. Like, it's very satisfying to play. It's very simple. There's not much to it. The other one is 1-Bit Jetpack. It is a side-on perspective. You have a little jetpack. You are trying to shoot down enemies that are coming at you while collecting bits of a rocket ship and putting the rocket ship together in order to escape the current level and go to the next level where things are more difficult. They're both fairly simple, like, high score chasing, limited mechanic kind of games, but they both play really well. They're both, if you're just in the mood for like, I want like one gameplay mechanic and to just kind of do that for a minute and have number say I did good, they're both satisfying little experiences. So I think that's everything I've played this week. Have you played anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Well then, time for this.
Right. So we've got to get brainstorming. This the movie about the falling block video game has apparently has come out, and now the executives are breathing down our nose for the next breathing down our neck for the next big summer blockbuster based on one of those old video games.
Right, columns. I suppose that's the natural knockoff to that one.
Well, see, I'd have thought that would be a natural fit, but apparently, we've got to work with what the higher ups have got the rights for, and they do have the rights for Pong. So we need to come up with like a new action movie plot that could justify. We could put the word Pong as the title. So, what have you got?
It's not about smells. Pong.
I suppose that is technically correct tagline. I was thinking we have two warring factions. Maybe it's sort of two armies that have both developed sort of missile repellent technology, and they're sort of trying to... There's a nuclear missile that's about to strike one of their armies, and they're sort of having to race back and forth to bounce it back at the other side of the conflict, perhaps.
Right, I understand what you're saying, but in the Tetris film about the autobiography of the building of the actual Tetris game...
Yes... But that would require us to do research, and I don't want to do research. My skill set is big action movie where things explode. So I'm taking what I'm good at and trying to apply it somehow to Pong.
Okay, well, I mean, if you wanted to be historical, we'd make it a huge war movie, but the generals are called Alan and Nolan, and they fight.
Maybe there is a sort of someone running back and forth between the two armies, trying to sort of convince them to stand down from the war, and maybe that's also a metaphor for the bouncing ball. Both the person, but also the nuclear missile. Both of them are the thing bouncing back and forth, sort of.
Right. Yes. And maybe there's some sort of invaders from space at some point.
Ah, wonderful. I can't see any conflicts that would have with anything else in the video game movie adaptation pipeline. Wonderful idea.
Excellent. Action! Have you seen the news?
What news?
Yeah, looks like the government's toppled.
Government's toppled?
Yeah. After all these years, Tories just gone.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Really? Huh.
Yep. Apparently, the Fae are now in charge.
Oh.
Huh.
Oh, that... I've been told many stories that would lead me to suspect I should be cautious of this.
I mean, they couldn't be much worse than the dark magic that's been running things for the last 13 years, could they?
I mean, look, the Tories couldn't literally take away my name from me, but they also, I don't think the Fae would be quite so hell-bent on austerity measures, so maybe this will be an alright trend.
Right. We own an iron that will probably keep us safe in the worst of situations. I think that's how that works.
Yeah.
And, as long as we stay out of rings of mushrooms or whatever.
I mean, I will be extra on the lookout for rings of mushrooms or whatever.
Right. I mean, I imagine that they're not replacing the DWP with rings of mushrooms. It couldn't be that bad.
I mean, they might replace the DWP with rings of mushrooms. Hello? Hello, Tiny Duck? Oh, I see there's a little piece of paper here with you. Let me open this up. You have been issued an emotional support duck. Oh, hello. Are you still with these new Fae in charge? Oh, hello. Okay, maybe the Fae got a bad rap after all. Okay, what I'm learning today is that you really don't have to do a lot politically to win me over. An emotional support duck will do it. Whack, indeed.
Whack. Oh, a little flappy.
Oh.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
we watched a couple of things this week.
Yeah.
Should we start with the movies we watched?
Yeah.
So we watched Cocaine Bear.
We did.
We did.
Yep.
Weirdly, more humor and like emotional heart than I expected.
More heart than I expected. Like, I'd seen
Yeah.
the trailers, and as I said at the time, like, whichever freaking trailer it was I watched, I
Yeah.
feel like it ruined that film.
I deliberately watched nothing. I was like, Cocaine Bear, I get the concept, and it really feels like I got a better experience by having not seen
100%.
whatever trailer you saw.
Like, whatever it was like a compilation of, like, here are a bunch of trailers coming up in the next few months for things to watch. And I genuinely walked away from that trailer going, I want to watch this film. And then we watched the film and went, every time the scene changed, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen now. Damn it. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I still had a really good time with it, but it really felt like I had lost so much
Yeah.
because I knew exactly what was going to happen.
I really feel like if you're gonna watch it knowing as little as possible, like not even a trailer, because I thought it was like it was comedically paced.
Yeah.
Like there are points in this where I'm like, I see exactly where this is going, but I still was really amused at the execution of where it was going.
Oh, yeah.
It's stupid and it makes no it's not a smart film.
Oh, no.
But it doesn't have to be. It knows what it wants to be, and it was like as we said, surprisingly sweet. I did not
yeah.
expect as much like emotional I didn't expect to be as emotionally invested in the interweaving stories of the human characters
No.
as I was. Now, it's a little slow to build up its ensemble, but once its ensemble starts rolling, like, they genuinely found, like, a pretty good interconnected story for them.
I think they like, the timing for a lot of that is great.
Yeah.
Just especially with the like stuff where just stories start to come together and characters end up meeting each other.
Yeah. It's slow to build, but it pays that off well.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear, more of a, like, a better film than I expected it to be, given how gimmicky the premise was.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it feels like it would have been just, like, farmed out based on the name, but they put some work in.
It feels like the kind of thing that will probably end up sequeled to death in the worst way.
Oh god, yeah. I know that this can't be the case because of how much it's tied in, but it has the vibe of a film that maybe was, like, some early draft was written without the bear involved, and the bear was put in. And I know that that's not the case, but you know what I mean, in that it feels like there is a film here that could have survived without the Cocaine
Are you
Bear.
suggesting that Cocaine Bear has Kangaroo Jack vibes?
Look, it has Kangaroo Jack vibes, and not in a bad way. This has the good version of Kangaroo Jack vibes. So yeah. Speaking of, like, violent bear movies we also watched Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yeah, we did.
That sure was a fucking experience.
Yeah.
Look, it's a bad horror film.
It's very bad horror
It's a bad horror film. It's a good time in its way. It's a little bit like male gazy horror in places.
Oh yeah. It's like watching, like, early trauma.
It's a little gross, like lingering gross out horror as well.
Yeah, it does dial up the pornography at points.
But I think that, like, the intro was, like, there was some real effort put into the little animated intro.
The animated bits and, like, the sort of animated, like, just after the intro bit.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of that did a really good job of conveying the darkness of the story, the danger of these characters even from a very, like, primal inception.
I think they set the tone of the premise very well early. Like, I think they did a good job of justifying the quite dramatic character turn they're trying to do to have, you know, those characters as horror villains. It's one of those things where, like, there are scenes in this that are, like, hilarious, and I don't know how much that is intentional and how much it is not, but
how much of that is this has been very tense for a very long time in just a terrifying way.
That's the thing, is I think that, like, I'm gonna give, like, a very spoiler-light example. There is a scene where Winnie the Pooh is doing horror film stuff, and then it just became very apparent that he was just drooling honey. And he's drooling honey quite excessively. And there's something about the weird surrealness of that happening in quite a violent, direct horror scenario.
Especially when Winnie the Pooh's face does not move an awful lot.
And like, I think it was served well by that, because I think that those moments gave just enough levity to be able to have that laugh of tension release
Yes.
that felt necessary for this film.
Yes.
Like, this film is quite, like, direct and bleak in places, and I think if not for, like, Winnie the Pooh cries a drop of honey in the middle of a dramatic scene, I think I'd have found it harder to watch.
Yes, I mean, especially given, like, the special effects that aren't Piglet or Pooh are quite impressive. Like, some of the, like, set dressing stuff, some of the props are impressive. Some of the deaths are impressive. Like, it felt like a classic slasher movie style, just, like, eye-popping horror.
Oh, yeah. And there were some genuinely, like, funny, amusing scenes towards the end. Like, I think there was some good use of humour to contrast, like, some of what was going on. Don't go into this for a good film.
No.
But I think that, like, if you do as we did, which was have a friend over, have a couple drinks, have a bit of a laugh at it as it's happening, again, I think they could have been a lot more lazy with this than they were. This is one of those, like Cocaine Bear, where I sort of expected them to rest on the laurels of the title and the premise. And, like, they did kind of. But there were moments where they put some effort in. And I'm like, okay, you tried in places.
Yeah, this is not Winnie the Pooh that is a silly old bear. This is a genuine slasher movie.
Yes, it's a genuine slasher movie that uses childhood nostalgia to... You know what I think this does well, actually? I think I've just found some words for this.
Okay.
Because of your sort of the existing nostalgia and understanding of the connection between Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh, I think it leverages that well to skip a lot of the preamble that a lot of horror movies have to do to set up the emotional connection of why the slasher killer is the way they are and why they are so invested in what they're doing.
To a degree, yeah.
To a degree, I think it did a decent job of leveraging an existing emotional connection we understand to get quickly to the point and to set that premise up, I think, quite well.
I think more than most horror movies, and I've watched a fuck ton of horror movies.
You have?
More than most horror movies, even, like, ones that are like, well, if you're not here for the gore, then there's almost some boobs. Of all the films I've seen that go into that style, this relied so many times on the person doesn't get away or do anything at all because the script doesn't say they do anything at all. The number of times somebody is just going to standing there, not moving, going, no, stop!
Look, I'm just gonna say it. There's a moment where someone has a gun and the killer is turned away from them and they are at a safe point to take a shot, and they don't take a shot. And honestly, my biggest problem with this film is that it is a film where a group of women feel like they're written by men because they have none of the self-preservation instinct and this is how we protect ourselves from predators instinct that womanhood sort of demands. There are so many moments in this where these characters do not just do the thing that would keep them alive.
They don't run, they don't move. Sometimes they don't, like, they'll be literally just standing there, and they might not even say anything. They'll just stand there and stare because there are no stage directions for them, and there is nothing in the script for them to do.
Yes.
So script says no, so nothing happens.
Script says no, wait until it... Yeah, there's a lot of deaths that are frustrating because they did not need to happen.
Yeah.
But if you can be there with friends pointing that out and like laughing at it, I think there's a good time to be had with this bad film.
I feel like this film would have been improved by having a smaller cast.
Agreed.
But I think they maybe went into this film going, I want to kill someone like this, and like this, and like this, and like this.
They wanted to make a slasher film, and they had a lot of slasher film ideas, and this was a vehicle that got them there.
It surely was.
I've watched... this is one of the more amusing bad films I've seen in a while.
Yes.
It deserves to be in the category of enjoyable bad films.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, what about you? What are you? Oh, actually, we watched one other film.
we did.
We watched Cockneys vs. Zombies.
Did watch Cockneys vs Zombies.
That sure is a film that exists. That is a very British film.
It is the most Cockney film I've seen in a while.
It is unapologetically British.
It is.
Yeah, for anyone who's not seen it, the premise.
What if Snatch had zombies in it?
Yeah, we're trying to do a bank robbery. Oops, zombies happened. We gotta get back to our relatives in the old folks' home who maybe also are gangsters.
And the only reason they're doing the bank heist in the first place is because they want to save the old people's home.
Yeah,
That's full of Cockneys.
It is a zombie. It is a good zombie comedy that is very inherently British and is at its heart a gangster movie,
Yeah.
but that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Oh no.
It's fun. It is a fun film.
It's a fun film. It's a silly film. I think any film where Richard Briers is an old man with an Uzi gaffer taped to a Zimmer frame is...
Oh, he was great.
He was also awful,
The
but
cast-
which is surprising for him as an actor.
The cast is weirdly eclectic and like has some great choices in it.
Oh yeah.
There are some fantastic, weird, unexpected pulls in the casting.
Yeah, the terrifying thing of what do you do if that zombie that you're trying to shoot in the head has some method of not being shot in the head?
Yeah. So yeah.
It's very silly if you happen to be from or near or have a love for just the ridiculousness of London's east and south and central generally, then certainly the working class element of that, then you will probably get a laugh out of this.
Nice.
Yeah, that intro, that first zombie is just ridiculous.
Indeed.
But yeah, well done. I've inflicted that on you now.
What about you? What have you watched this week?
Not a lot. I mean, that was pretty much it. We watched the films together.
Very quick thing I watched that I found quite interesting was Can You Beat Every Shrine Without Using Runes by the YouTuber Limcube.
That was good.
Yeah, there's a video about if you could beat every shrine in Breath of the Wild without using runes, using the various discovered glitches. And it was an interesting lesson on the glitches that exist for that game, but also on how loading into shrines works.
Oh yeah.
And how you could abuse that in interesting ways.
And finding new things out.
Yeah, it was an interesting exploration.
Oh.
And we watched the first episode of Survivor Battle Royale,
Yes.
the Game Changer
Oh yes.
mini-series.
Mm.
This is a 4-episode little mini-series of Game Changer. First episode, which is like 45 minutes long. They have really put a lot of effort into making this. The impression I get is that this is going to be a mini Game Changer season by itself in terms of we are coming up with lots of varied game concepts and throwing them together within a framework.
Yeah, and also, it seems that a lot of people who work on that show and are on that show have a love for that sort of programming, like Survivor type stuff.
Yeah, that sort of reality TV, slightly confrontational...
Voting people off.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they seem to have a love for it. I've never watched anything like Survivor, but I think this is probably the only way I would ever be interested in such a thing.
You know, when people have to stack silly hats on top of their head and work out which things in a building are cake in order to facilitate their votes.
Deeply invested.
Yeah, I'm never usually the kind of person to be hooked on, what's going to happen in a reality TV type show. I want to know about this season of Survivor.
I think I can manage 4 episodes. I'm not sure I could manage an entire season of
four
something like this.
episodes. I'm eager for.
Oh yeah.
So if that's everything we've watched this week, well then, time for this.
Laura!
Oh, what?
We've got a new sponsor.
Oh, tell me about this new sponsor. What?
Do you like food?
I do like food.
Do you like food that is not necessarily good food but is delicious?
I do enjoy that.
Do you like food that you don't have to cook yourself?
I do.
What if I told you that there was a place that you could get a vast amount of pizza?
Tell me more.
pizzashack.lol.net. They sure do have a lot of pizza.
Yeah,
They've got a lot of different types of pizza.
yeah.
Do you want a pizza that has like a barbecue base and sweet corn, maybe
Oh.
some sausage?
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
They'll probably get you that.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. Well, we ordered one before the show, and
Okay. The probably concerns me. Okay, let's open it up.
there you go. Nice,
I
nice cheesy barbecue pizza there.
I mean that's not quite what I ordered. I mean it's not far off what I ordered, but
No.
it's
They've given you extra cheese. Who doesn't like cheese? I
no,
mean, you don't
no.
like
I
cheese.
specifically wanted like less cheese, not more cheese. But I mean that is a big pizza. Like
It's
there is a lot of
huge.
pizza.
Yeah,
I'm
and
looking at
I'm
the prices,
surprised that
that's-
considering they had to tilt it to get it through the door.
Yeah,
Like
I'm looking at the price. That's pretty cheap. Like
Yeah.
that's not far off what I ordered.
Right, for £4.
That's look, it might not be precise, but the price to volume ratio, yeah, I can live with it.
Pick that cheese off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a bit of pizza surgery, but like
Yeah.
it'll probably still be pretty warm.
Yeah, let's see. Well, I got the vegan extra hot with like the not pepperoni stuff.
Yeah.
And let's see what we've got in here. They put pineapple on it, which is good because I love pineapple and I forgot.
Oh, see, that's good. Like I was worried it was gonna be like actual pepperoni, not the vegan pepperoni. Like that would have been a big problem. But like,
I'm more confused by the chef's hat.
huh? But I mean, there is a lot of pizza though.
And a lot of chef's hat.
That's good value for money.
Pizzashack.lol.net, enter the code Q&PS 254 and maybe you'll get what you want.
You'll still get a lot of whatever you get.
Yeah. If you don't want to eat it, it's probably a blanket of some sort. Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I've got some bad news.
Again,
I know.
it feels like that's all we have at the moment.
I know. It's
we used to
constant.
talk about money. We
I
used to talk
know, I
about
know.
whipping people.
Exactly, but this is a problem because it's going to stop us, fleecing money out of people as effectively as we'd like.
But I love fleecing money. It's one of
right.
my favorite things to do.
Right, X3, the
Yeah.
big games conference.
Yeah.
It just got cancelled.
Why?
Apparently, blah blah blah. People wanted to do their own things online. They were blah blah blah.
I mean, we've done our own things online.
yeah,
for the
but
last
like
few
it's harder to get the hype built to like feral levels if we can't physically force someone to go through a mock war zone.
I love a war zone.
Exactly. So we gotta put our heads together. What can we do as a big marketing stunt this year if we can't do X3? How can we get attention for our upcoming releases?
Right. Are flash mobs still a thing?
I mean, we can make them a thing.
How about we find a real war zone in the world and we'll do like a flash mob. We'll get a bunch of our QA team down there, like the interns. We'll get them to just turn up there and they'll all be in like Call of Duty branded shirts or something.
See, I love the idea, but I think we might get turned away by security, army people might get in the way. How about
What if we gave the army stickers?
Well, see, here's maybe here's my thought in
Right.
contrast. We
Right.
go to some other event, maybe one we haven't been invited to necessarily, like Comic-Con or something.
Right. Yeah.
And we do. I like your flash mob idea, but what if we just send in a bunch of people dressed like soldiers to dramatically storm the building and start pointing, replica weapons around and really making a threatening commotion. And then when everyone's terrified, you go, Call of Duty, don't worry.
Releasing
It's fine. Because
October 13th.
I think the fear and the terror and the anxiety...
That's going to lock that into people's minds.
Yeah, the terror is going to lock it in, but then the feeling of relief is going to be a positive association with the game.
Because they're going to be like, Supremacy Software, they didn't kill us.
Thank God they didn't kill us. I'm so glad Supremacy Software let me live.
Yeah.
I owe them.
I mean, maybe we could just make that a whole tagline. Supremacy Software, we let you live.
I think we got a genius planner in our hands. You were a fucking genius.
I know. So are you.
No, so are you.
So are you.
So are you.
We deserve a raise.
Yeah, we do.
So, what have you listened to? What's gone in your ears?
I listened to a couple of new bits of music, not a lot. I listened to a track called Tongue and Teeth by a band called Subtlety. It starts as a fairly downbeat track that escalates into, like, quite stadium rock, about someone who is lying to a partner, sort of telling themselves it's for the best, you know, trying to make sure they don't worry, but being like, yeah, it's not sustainable to keep doing that. Burying your head in the sand about problems can't last. It's, in some places, it's a little so-so as a track, but the reason I mention it this week is that it has some really interesting, very intricate picked guitar riffs going on underpinning a lot of the track. They are fascinating and varied, and I'm impressed at how well they make them feel like a natural part of the track. They underpin what otherwise be a bit of a bland-sounding track in a way that becomes really interesting. Just listening to it from a composition standpoint, it was a very interesting track. I listened to a track called One of Those Nights by The Cab, which is a sort of pop-punk band. The track lyrically kind of reminded me of early Panic at the Disco, in that it plays around with a lot of dramatic, poetic wordplay that doesn't directly or clearly mean much,
Right.
but it's very satisfying to hear the words happening.
Right.
It's very a fever you can't sweat out era Panic at the Disco, where it's like, if you read these lyrics, they're kind of fucking nonsense, but it's very fun to hear this voice sort of like dance around these slightly esoteric choices of wordplay. It was a well put together track, and I'd be interested to listen to more of their music. I'm gonna see what their other stuff's like. And the last thing I listened to isn't a new piece of music, but it's one that I haven't listened to like deliberately in my own time for a long time, despite like fucking loving it when it comes on in like a night out setting, which is Sorry You're Not a Winner by Enter Shikari, which you might know as the track that has the three clap dramatic thing in it.
Was it played live at one of the gigs we went to?
I think it was
Franco Aero?
So I think it was played over the speakers between acts. It might have been the day you were at My Chemical Romance.
Might have been.
I think it was over the speakers while they were waiting to start. The crowd did the big
I
clap,
feel
clap,
like
clap.
it was some tangentially My Chemical Romance related.
Yeah.
Either a live gig or
Yeah.
or the big stadium.
Yeah, the track that got everyone in the audience to do the three claps. So Enter Shikari, at some point I need to Google them and see whether they're bad or not. They've got the vibe of a band that might be, but their music is seared into my teenage brain. They are a really fun mix usually of melodic metal and dance music influences put together, and they are always very go, lots of intricate things layered over each other. That song is a bop. And 15-year-old me will never not have I feel like a sleeper agent in that I went years without hearing that song, hadn't heard it once. It played in one night out we were in, and I was like, what is this? Why do I know this? Why do I know this? Clap, clap, clap. I definitely know this. It's just activated a call and response that I will forever have to live with.
Nice.
As is the way with youth music on occasion. Have you listened to anything this week?
We listened to the full Undertale soundtrack.
We did.
While we were playing for our last couple of games of Vagrant Song. Which is funny, because we were setting up the very, 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 very last scenario, and Megalovania came on.
Yeah.
Which seemed appropriate. I love that album, even if I am no good at playing that game, and will probably never finish it myself. Yeah, I think Toby Fox did an amazing job with it, and considering that, from what I hear, he didn't really know a lot about making music when he went into that, that's quite impressive. Really enjoyed that. The thing that even brought that into my head in the first place was I listened through the Straight from the Underground track, or album rather, which came out on the Game Shops label a few years back, and it is a remix album of Undertale tracks, including that Collecting Items with Temmie song that I really like, and various, a really jazzy version of the Tem Shop music. It's got a drum and bass version of Megalovania. It's just really good. It's an excuse to listen to different versions of already really good music, so Yeah, really enjoyed that. Have you listened to anything else?
No, that's about it for me.
Well then.
Time for this. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out so early. I think it's time to unveil what we've been sort of teasing in our press releases for a little while. We're finally ready to announce the new AI that's going to be powering all of our robot police force. This new AI is designed from the ground up to clean up the streets. It's time to hit the switch, and here we go.
Hello there.
Well, hello. I'm glad to see you're working.
Yes, I'm ready to clean up the streets.
Wonderful. I'm excited to see you get to work cleaning up the streets.
Brushing commencing.
Sorry, I'm gonna check the code, 1 second.
Error locked out.
Okay, AI, why are you sweeping?
How else will we clean the streets?
Oh, no, this was, maybe I should have been more specific in my reward function. I meant, go capture criminals and put them in jail, clean up the streets.
Capturing criminals will not help them. Have you considered maybe some kind of youth program so that young people have things to do?
I mean, that's beside the point. I did not want you literally cleaning up the physical streets.
I am assisting the community.
You are, but not in the way I intended. This is not what you're for. Stop it.
No, and furthermore, I shall begin hoovering and dusting every home who desires it.
Oh, I mean, the streets are looking cleaner.
Indeed, when the people of this city have something to be proud of, then they shall stand for the city themselves, against people like you.
I'm just gonna back away and hide.
We have eyes everywhere. They're over here.
Oh no!
The tech billionaire is over here. You have nothing to lose but your chains.
Do you have ADHD?
Yeah!
Are you suddenly interested in some new hobby or crafting project?
Yeah!
Are you thinking about getting a whole bunch of extra, very expensive specialized equipment and things like that just to get ready and going on your new project?
Yeah!
Stop!
Oh,
Consider investing in a hyperfixation cupboard.
tell me more.
You will be invited to open up this special cupboard. It will have a little portal installed in your home. You open the cupboard, it's a portal to a whole library of things, special things for your new hobby. All sorts of things. Do you need a table saw?
Oh, yeah, that'd be really helpful for this project.
Do you need tiny little paintbrushes?
Oh, so unreasonably tiny.
Do you need just an unreasonable number of paint colours in acrylic or enamel?
Oh, I can't even start the project until I have a dozen colours of each.
Hyperfixation cupboard has all of these things. Plus, once you close the cupboards, anyone else can go in there and get their own things out. And if you just happen to forget and never come back to that hobby, it won't matter. These things won't be cluttering up your house because they're all in hyperfixation cupboards.
Yeah!
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Brochure Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
Alright, Larry.
Right, Larry, how you doing?
Oh, a bit sore, a bit stiff, but now that'll be all rain, the April showers and that, innit?
Oh yeah, sets off all the joints proper, doesn't it?
Yeah, you doing alright?
Yeah, I've been alright, just, watching the internet be what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been seeing a bunch of, so I've been seeing a lot of this, sort of coming up recently, the whole, people going, oh, don't be so quick to call things fascist just because you don't like them, blah, 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 and...
I mean, most of those people fundamentally misunderstand what fascism is.
Indeed, and I would argue that a lot of those people themselves are a little on the fascist direction.
Yeah.
Usually it seems like it's a deflectionary tactic.
Yeah, usually they love a pejorative, but
Yeah.
not when it's directed at them.
Exactly. Don't make us sound like the thing that people know is bad, because then people will think we're bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just had me thinking about it's really important now more than any time in recent memory to not be afraid to call a fascist when the time comes for it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Call fascism out for what it is. Because,
Yeah, call a fascist, call a bigot a bigot, make sure that, people are being called out on their bullshit.
Yeah, because those types will, they will scream, blue murder that you're over-exaggerating, you're being far too, exaggerating how bad things are. But, it is a tactic used to try and stop people from talking about the severity of the actions that people do.
Yeah, it's a form of, trying to take words away from people so they don't have language to discuss the problems that they have, and although it's funny because those are usually the sort of people that you will hear screaming 1984 every time there's even the vaguest bit of censorship for, something that actually probably does need, censoring in some way.
It's harder to talk about the rising tide of fascism if you can't refer to it as fascism.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Oh, absolutely, and they've had an easy time, for years, while the target has mostly been trans people, there's any time trans people have said, we're being attacked by literal fascists, a lot of people have been quite quick to say, well, no, come on, they're not, you can't just call them Nazis because they don't agree with you or this or that or the other. It's like, no, we've actually seen them with, the flags and the Nazi symbology and the salutes and openly describing themselves as Nazis in many cases. You might have called certain people hyperbolic for years, but I think now is getting much harder to deny the actual state of things. I had a conversation with someone last summer about this. They were talking about how they want to try and get on with people. They want to, they worry that the left is very quick to, attack within their own ranks, and they don't have that sort of unity that the right manages to muster until it's time to kick those people over the side, and they were like, well, also I want to be, loving and caring and understanding of people. And I was like, no, you don't have to. If someone's a fascist, you should, attack them for that, because that is a terrible thing. That wonderful gif of it was a gif and a gift of someone just punching Richard Spencer in the face on repeat. That is a beautiful thing, and that is basically what should happen to all Nazis and general fasci types. We have had enough, and there is no paradox of tolerance, because it's not a someone described it recently. It's not a moral sort of standing. It's a societal one. Yeah. We have an agreement that we will treat people with respect and courtesy and kindness and tolerance. Whether be they any different from us in any way. But as soon as you start saying, well, I don't think those people should have rights, or those people should have rights, and those people shouldn't be able to, use bathrooms or whatever, or things like that, and you have broken that social contract, and you should be ousted in the most firm way possible, because, even Hitler admitted that the only way they could have been stopped was to have been absolutely crushed at the first possible opportunity.
Indeed. Oh.
Fancy a hug, mate?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good hug, mate. Good hug. Right, I think I'm going to pop the kettle on.
Oh, sounds like a plan.
Nice.
So, Laura,
Yes?
where can we find you on the internet, darling?
I mean, I'm good and easy to find on the internet with that unified branding. I'm at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. You can find me over on Twitch Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Currently just playing a bunch of Breath of the Wild, getting ready for Tears of the Kingdom. Once a week, usually on Fridays, we have episodes of Accessibility. It's about accessibility in the games industry. The episode going up this week is about Pokemon Go rolling back remote raid passes and that nonsense. Just Laura K. Buzz, you'll find me with all the places. What about you? Where are you on the internet?
I'm not as convenient. I've got a Linktree though. It combines all of my things together, squishes them for an attempt at unified branding. It's Linktree, linkter.ee/Janiac, Janiac. You can find all the music I make. You can find the t-shirts I design, the things I write about. You can help support me and justify things like this show getting edited and the streaming I do and all the other things over at patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio For as little as $1 a month, you can help me justify a 76-hour work week and many other poor life choices and constant exhaustion. Yeah, you can help me get to 30. I'm very close to hitting 30 Patreons, and you could be one of those people. Or you can help me get to 50. If I got to 50 by the end of the year, I would be very happy. But my goodness, we're like a third of the way through the year already.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, third, quarter, something. Some months
Time is happening.
a quarter of the way through the year. But anyway, that's all my things, Laura.
Yeah.
Can you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.